Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please make yourself comfortable as I say. Join me in welcoming Michelle Falcon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the introduction. One of the best speaking times is after lunch, not before lunch, because you're all fed, you got some energy in you. I'll thank you in advance for your attention. 25 years ago, France won the World Cup. 25 years ago, a president was impeached. 25 years ago, a company called Google was started in a garage in California. And 25 years ago, another impressive company was started. I grew up with your brand. When my agent told me that there was a possibility that I would be speaking here today, my immediate thought was, I want this one badly. I'll tell you why. When I was in high school, I grew up in Vancouver. When I was in high school, my friends and I would do what high school people do. We would go to the mall, Park Royal Mall in West Vancouver, in British Columbia, and we would loiter. But during our time of loitering, we had to feed ourselves. And there was an Opa restaurant in the food court. I kid you not, every week for at least 3 years, me and my friends would dine at your restaurant. So once I heard that this opportunity was available, I really wanted it, because I feel like I'm an extension of the brand since I've been a customer for so long. Now, 25 years in the restaurant business, you and I both know that's 5 lifetimes. So I really do hope that when you're operating your restaurants, you take a moment to pat yourselves on the back and feel good about the growth of your brand, because it's extraordinarily recognizable. When I talk to my friends from Vancouver and let them know that I was speaking at the event today, everybody's eyes lit up. The brand recognition is extraordinarily strong, and it remains strong because of what I witnessed last Friday. In preparation for today, I asked your management team to send me to a location where I could get to know the brand a little more intimately than I already knew it. So I met with Navdeep and one of your regional managers, Rachel, and we spent about an hour together. And here are the things that I picked up on immediately. One, it's in a food court at Lougheed Mall. You have competitors surrounding you, just like my businesses. The franchisee, Navdeep, was extremely hospitable and friendly. And because of that, his employees were as well. I was greeted with smiles, I was greeted with hospitality. And the chicken skewers and the tzatziki that I ate was the same flavor profile that I had when I was a teenager. There's a lot of good that I experienced with the brand. The brand equity is very strong. Now, as I reflected between the time that I was at Lougheed Mall and today, Navdeep cannot have hospitable, friendly team members if he isn't a servant to them first. Coincidentally, I ran into him in the gym this morning. Same friendly person. He has hospitality in his DNA. And as a brand scales and grows to acquire more customers and onboard new team members, that hospitality needs to scale with the leaders within the organization. You cannot have a fantastic customer experience that will drive your profits if we aren't putting our people first. Most companies will operate this way, regardless of the industry. Let's earn profits by delivering a product that our customers will want to buy again, so that way we can have a team who may be able to deliver this product that will drive our profits. I see business a little differently. My father owned restaurants while I was growing up. I grew up in the restaurant industry. My parents immigrated from Peru to Canada in the 70s. My father first brought us to Edmonton, He worked his way up at the Four Seasons. He became the general manager of the restaurant in the Four Seasons Hotel in Edmonton. Then we moved to Vancouver. There's a very popular Italian restaurant in Vancouver that's still there today since the 80s called El Giardino. He was the general manager of that restaurant. Him and my mother saved up their money, and he finally bought a restaurant of his own called the Sundowner in West Vancouver. I wasn't raised to be a restaurant professional like yourself. It just happened to be in my family. Now, being a child of South American parents, South Americans like security and safety. What does that mean? Go to university and earn a business degree or a degree of some sort. I went to business school in Vancouver to learn how to grow businesses one day. I wanted to learn entrepreneurship. But the problem is, I wasn't academic. I didn't do well in post-secondary. And I don't say that proudly, it's just a fact of the matter. I'm somebody that needs to use my hands to learn something. So I'm kinesthetic. After 3 semesters of business school, I realized that I needed change. And the education wasn't coming from traditional academia. At the time, in 2007, there was 2 very popular companies to work for in Vancouver. One of them was Lululemon. The other one was voted the best company to work for by Maclean's magazine in Canada. 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Now, very far removed from restaurants, isn't it? Not the sexiest of industries, is it? But that was my real world MBA. It's where I got to see firsthand that an employee experience powers your guest experience. If you have a guest experience that your industry has never seen before, regardless of whether it's restaurants or junk removal, the profits will come. Profits are an outcome of how people-centric you can become. And it's profits that are sustainable. I'm going to provide some evidence throughout my presentation with you. Every strategy and tactic that I share with you today, please know I've used these 2 hands to build them. They are tried, tested, and true over a decade of experience working within big companies and then starting my own hospitality company. What I know to be true today is that we need to flip that triangle upside down. We need to be benevolent and servant leaders, build high-performing teams, and support them with processes. System and process is something that I learned at 1-800-GOT-JUNK. It was the most system-orientated company I have ever seen in my life. And I've looked at the inner workings of companies like Lululemon, Lexus, Alfa Romeo, Royal Bank, and many other industries throughout my career. If we can build a people-centric organization and support them with process, then our profits, or our products, will be made the same way each and every day. Then the outcome of that will be a successful business that we can build decade over decade and for the next 25 years. This is Brasa Peruvian Kitchen. During the pandemic, just before the pandemic, in 2019, I wanted some change in my business, in my career. I had owned full-service restaurants at this time. So in Toronto, I owned a portfolio of restaurants. These restaurants, some were the size of 16,000 square feet, 4 floors. One unit did $11 million a year in sales. But I didn't want to be in the full-service restaurant industry anymore. I got older. At the time, I was 31. This business was really driven by alcohol and late nights. I got older and I stopped liking that world. So I thought to myself, what could I do within the food industry? Something that would be more conducive to the life that I live now, which is I go to bed at 9 p.m. I'm a Canadian Peruvian And if you know food, and I imagine you do because you're in the food space, Peruvian food is one of the world's secrets. The number one rated restaurant in the world is a restaurant called Central, which is based in Lima, Peru. So in 2019, I started thinking, what can I do with Peruvian cuisine in a fast casual restaurant environment? So I started strategizing of what I would build. I looked at brands like Chipotle or Starbucks, how Chipotle created a brand around Mexican cuisine and marketed to North Americans, and how Starbucks created a brand for Italian coffee in the 80s. And I thought to myself, could I do the same, but for Peruvian cuisine? We have 4 corporate stores in Toronto and soon to be our first location in Manhattan. So to paint a picture of what this business looks like for you, I like square footage of less than 1,000 square feet. We don't have any more than 5 or 6 people working per location. I was happy to hear that you use NPS, Net Promoter Score. We use Net Promoter Score as well. I checked this morning. I check every morning because I get a daily report. System-wide across our 4 locations, we're at 83. The reason why I know NPS so well is because 1-800-GOT-JUNK used it in 2008 is when they started using it. So I've learned these things for decades, which is why I feel confident in front of you to be able to speak about some of the things that I've learned about building relationships, not just with customers, not just with employees, it's with human beings. You know, what we've done is we've erected this wall between how we behave in our personal lives and how we behave in our professional lives. When we go home, we don't put on our husband or father hat, and then we go to our businesses and put on our entrepreneur hat. It's the same hat. The relationships you have in your personal life is built with trust, love, and care, which is why you have best friends. It's why you have nieces and nephews who look up to you. We have to take that same level of care and hospitality into the relationships we have with our frontline employees. They look at us for leadership. And some of the tactics that I'm going to share with you today are very cost-friendly. It's worth noting, and you might be happy to hear this. I don't like spending a lot of money to solve a problem. I'm the cheapest guy you know. Hopefully we get to know each other a little bit more after this. I like solving a problem in the most cost-effective way possible. Why? Because that leaves me more money for myself and my family. I'm a very profit-driven entrepreneur, but how I go about earning that profit might be a little different. Let's call it what it is. Our industry, fast casual restaurants, quick service restaurants, it's not known for propping people up. I hate to say it, but it's true. Some of our contemporaries and our peers exploit the labor. How are we going to build something together that we're proud of? Now, as entrepreneurs and leaders of our restaurants, we want to create legacies for ourselves. What do our team members think and feel about us when we enter the restaurant? Are they welcoming us? Are they talking behind our backs because we don't treat them well? We haven't earned the permission to ask our frontline employees to be hospitable to our customers if we don't do it to them first. With our Google ratings, we're at 4.8 on average. We're doing a lot of good. But what really resonates with me is something that I heard Howard Schultz say from Starbucks. He's the former CEO of Starbucks. And I heard him on a podcast say this, and it was one of those paradigm shifting sentences that I heard. I had to go back to the podcast and listen to it like five times in a row to let it resonate. And what he said was, only the paranoid survive. And the word paranoid is a really strong word, isn't it? What he meant was, you're good today. What about tomorrow? Your employees may love you today, but what about tomorrow? What about with your guests? What about your product? And that's what drives me. Every single week when I meet with my management team, It will be today at 4 p.m. when we have our weekly management meeting. We first look at our employee satisfaction rates, then we look at our guest satisfaction rates, and then we look at our P&L. And we dissect it together to look at our food costs, look at our labor costs, look at our packaging costs. And collectively, we come together as a group to be able to improve those metrics so that we can earn a profit for ourselves that we can enjoy. But how are we going to do that if we're not doing it together? For the over decade that I've been at this is what I know has been working, not just for me and my restaurants today, or the ones that I used to own in Toronto, but the ones, companies like 1-800-GOT-JUNK, or Lululemon, or Starbucks, or Warby Parker, or other brands that we admire for their level of care and hospitality, not just for their customers, but even for their employees. Even for suppliers, maybe investors. Anybody that interacts with your brand should be delivered a hospitable experience. We can't just be focused on the customer. If you truly want to build a brand that's admired, we need to take that same reputation and same approach that we have for delivering great services to our customers as we do everyone that interacts with our brand, because that's what brand admiration is. The first thing that we have to dissect is what I call constant and targeted recruitment. To be able to find great teams and build high-performing organizations where turnover is low. Last year, my year-over-year turnover rate at Brass Approving Kitchen was 17% only. Our industry, last time I checked, was anywhere between 75 to 150% year-over-year turnover. We accomplished 17% with some of the things that I'm going to share with you today. And what does that mean? Having low turnover means more profit for you to enjoy because you're not spending as much on training. You have seasoned people who know how to upsell and offer beverages to your customers to increase your average guest check. You have team members that your customers have already built rapport with. It's hard to build a rapport with new customers when the turnover is always happening. I am always recruiting. My HR manager, Laura, hosts interviews Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. virtually through group interviews every single week, even when we don't have positions available. Why would we do that? Because you and I both know when you're fully staffed, something happens. Somebody gets sick, somebody requests a vacation, somebody quits abruptly and they don't give us 2 weeks notice, and then we have a headache. The recruiting engine should always stay on. Never turn it off because it requires more effort and costs you more money to constantly have to be turning it on and turning it off. Great, you're recruiting, top of funnel recruiting. You have, picture a funnel, fill the top of the funnel, and then you start bringing it down. You start filtering through the best people that you can find. Next, we have to host unique interviews. We can't just show up to interviews unprepared, because it's one of the first impressions that a high-performing employee will have with your company. What does that tell the candidate if you're underprepared? It sends a loud message saying, this company might not be as organized as I would like. The highest performing people in our industry are coveted by many other brands. And they can work anywhere right now because, as we know, employees have a lot of leverage. So what does that interview look like? I'm going to share some interview questions that work very well for me. Ones that I've thought of myself and ones that I've borrowed from another industry. You've now interviewed people and you've made some great hires. What does onboarding look like? What does day 1, day 2, and the first week look like? Make it as memorable as a wedding. Make it as memorable as the housewarming party you may host for your friends and family. Because that is another impression that this new team member has with your brand. And if you want them to deliver a great experience to your customers, you got to do it to them first so they know what that looks like, so that they know what that feels like, so that they can bring that same level of hospitality to your guest experience. The outcome of doing these three things is a memorable guest experience, which will drive our profits. Customers come back. Instead of just buying on a Tuesday, they come back on a Tuesday and Thursday. They leave you positive Google reviews, Yelp reviews, and they recruit their family members and friends over to your business. And that income is called organic growth. Organic growth is the income earned from repeat customers and word of mouth marketing. It's extremely profitable because you're not having to pay a high customer acquisition cost to acquire each of these customers. You earn that by delivering an experience to them that they've never seen before in our industries. When I was at Lougheed Mall, you're surrounded by your competitors, just like I am in my restaurants. I have, of the 4 locations, I have Office Tower location, I have a food court location, I have one in downtown Toronto on Main and Main Street, and then I have one in a suburban market. Either way, I'm surrounded by my competitors just like you are. How I beat them is by delivering an experience to my guests that they've never seen before in the industry. And I can only do that if I have the right team representing the brand. Told you Lululemon was a company that I was potentially going to work for, and I chose the junk company. I made a mistake by choosing the junk company in one regard. I would have joined Lululemon before they IPO'd. So, one small mistake. In 2011, I read an article that changed how I approach recruitment of employees, and I still use it today. It's called a customer muse. So Lululemon have targeted customers that they refer to as Duke and Ocean. And in this article, and I implore you to read it yourselves because it was very insightful, and I just checked online last night, it's still online. Google Business Insider Lululemon Duke and Ocean, and you can read it for yourselves. But here's the headline. What this article read, it said, Duke spends 4 days a week exercising. This is what he earns. This is the type of clothing he wears. Ocean does this in her free time. It was very descriptive of who they were targeting, the target customer. So I asked myself, could I do this but for employees? You can't. How can we build high-performing, hospitable teams if we don't even know who we're really looking for? We can't just look for the person that's going to show up and start the very next day. That's going to cause high turnover. So I call this document the Mona Lisa. And the qualities that I'm looking for are 5-fold. And I refuse to hire anybody that doesn't meet this criteria. They've got to have hospitality in their DNA. They need to know what that looks like. Just because we're in fast casual doesn't mean we can't operate like a 5-star hotel like the Ritz-Carlton. We can. And I'll share some ways that we can. Even though we only have the customer's attention for, a minute or two, depending on how long our line is. Some of my restaurants will have a queue of about 30 people during lunchtime, and our throughput rate that we try to target is 6.5 minutes from the moment that you stand at the end of the line to the moment that you pay. So some of the things that my team members ask are, Michelle, how am I supposed to be memorable in such a short period of time when you're telling me to be quick and fast, but we also have to be memorable? I'm going to share something called customer personality types with you in a moment, which has fundamentally changed and elevated the way that we train our team members. Kindness. I've worked really, really hard in my career to not work with jerks. I only want to work with kind, hospitable people. How can we have hospitable companies without kindness? It's the bedrock of hospitality. We have to interview for that. One of the interview questions that we ask, and I'll get into others in a moment, has anybody ever called you kind before? We don't hire people that say no. Fast. How fast they move. Do they move with urgency? Have you ever hired somebody and you thought, my goodness, they don't move fast enough? We can't hire individuals like that. We're in a fast casual restaurant environment with throughput rate being a huge KPI for us. Mature. Are you going to show up to work? Or are you going to call in sick when you're a little hungover? We've all been a little hungover, right? not showing up for our responsibilities? I'm on the other side of the fence now. I can't have that. And lastly, pride. Pride in your work, pride in your appearance, pride in every single thing that you do, so that you don't cut corners when you're grilling chicken. You don't cut corners when you're serving guests rice. You take pride in your uniform. I don't want to have to remind my team members to wash their aprons. These are the attributes that we look for, and this is what the Mona Lisa actually is. This document is at the table side of our HR manager. Every single person responsible for hiring must understand this. Our restaurant team members will consist of individuals whose personalities are kind and hospitable. These individuals have customer service in their DNA and don't need to be convinced of its value to our company and workplace. Most will have previous experience within the industry. This experience has given them a natural ability to move quickly in fast-paced environments. Our team members have responsibilities. They may include supporting a family or paying for school tuition. These responsibilities help reduce our absenteeism rates and turnover. That's the benefit for us. The ideal team member has a plan for themselves, whether that's with our company or not. It's acceptable if they don't aspire to be our next general manager, but it's not acceptable for them to see their role as passive employment. Slow to fire, quick to hire. Pardon me. Slow to hire, quick to fire. We have systems and processes in place to ensure that we're targeting these people, but we don't get it right 100%. We will coach people if it's a technical thing that they need coaching on. We will fire people if somehow they got past us on one of these 5 things, especially on kindness. Have you ever interviewed somebody and they showed up and they were a completely different person? That's a professional interviewer. I've been fooled before. But what I won't do is I'm not pretending to be a psychologist. I'm not going to teach you how to work hard. I'm not going to teach you how to be kind. You were taught that when you were 6 years old. It's my job to have system and processes in place to be able to welcome people who are kind and have the work ethic that we need and stop them dead at the door if they don't have those attributes. But we need system and process to be able to help us. They're guardrails to keep us on track. Here's an interview question that I like to ask. Please name a company that delivers exceptional customer service to you. Think about that question. If you were interviewing with me, please name a company that delivers exceptional customer service to you. We don't hire people that don't have an answer to that. Why? How are you going to deliver great customer service if you don't even know what that is as a consumer? We have a lot of people that apply. This might not sound believable, but it is. We have 600 to 800 people that apply to work with us a month because we've built a reputation for being good employers in Toronto. So we have opportunity to be able to attract people. And part of what we have to do is we have to be HR marketers. We have to fill the top of funnel by having a reputation of being great employers, being hospitable, being benevolent leaders, being servant leaders, so that people follow us. What would a successful first day and week look like for you? That's an interview question that we ask. Why? Because that's the bullseye. If we have a candidate that we really like, we're documenting their answers. And then we're going to mirror that because we want to put our best foot forward with this high performer because we know that they are going to be coveted or hired by somebody else. We want them. So we need to be prepared to embrace them and onboard them. What's the temperature of the sun? It's not a Rubik's Cube-like question, I promise you. Okay, it's not a Google-like bizarre question. It is a bizarre question, but let me help you understand why we ask this. Nobody knows the answer to this question. I've been asking it for years. I still don't have it memorized. Okay? What are you going to hear from the candidate I don't know. Nothing else? Or do you hear the second or third thing that I like? Can you give me a second? Pulls out their phone. Da, 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 da. The answer is this. Quick thinking. Found a solution to something. Or do they say, I don't know, but I'm going to find out for you. And this has happened to me before, and it's what I like. The very next day, or the same day, hi, Michelle. I don't do the interviewing as much anymore. It's more Laura, our HR manager. So, hi, Laura. Thank you very much for the interview today. I really enjoyed my time with you. By the way, the answer to your question is X. I hope to hear back from you. Don't you think that's exactly how they're going to behave in your restaurants when they are inevitably asked a question by your customers that they don't have the answer to? I don't know, but let me find out for you. This is why we ask the sun question. If you were to be hired, how are you going to contribute to our guest experience? The other day, Laura told me somebody said, I am the fastest employee that you are going to have. Here's my track record. I used to work at McDonald's. Our throughput rate was this. That's interesting. What are you going to bring to the table? And the last question. I created this question in 2016, and I promise you, if there's only one thing you're going to take away from today, and I hope that there's more, make it this question. Subway started asking this question after I spoke at their events. McDonald's did too. Alfa Romeo, the car company, and many other companies, Electronic Arts, the gaming company, have all ripped this off because they read it in my book. And I'm more than happy to have you rip it off too. The COO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, Cameron Harold, told me when I was 22, he said, Michelle, the best advice I can give you is R&D does not have to stand for research and development. It can stand for rip off and duplicate. Look at other companies. Don't just look at other restaurants. Look at other industries and ask yourselves, what are they doing that's really cool? How can we take that and make it a part of the DNA of Opa? We don't have to strategize every single unique strategy. There's other industry doing some cool things as well that we can borrow. This one is 100% mine, but please, I implore you to use it. Here's the question. What is an indulgence that you cannot live without, that costs less than $20? I'm going to come down and do a little bit of audience participation, but as I'm walking down, I want you to think of that question. What is an indulgence that you cannot live without that costs less than $20? Mike, I'm coming straight to you because I saw that you just sat next to me, so thank you. Okay, so you're a leader in the company. There's all your peers here, so let's make it legal. What is an indulgence that you can't live without that costs less than $20?
It's a competitor, but Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons, okay. What from Tim Hortons do you like?
It's consistent.
It's consistent. Oh, no, like what indulgence do you like there? What product do you like?
My tea and my bagel.
Your tea and your bagel. Phenomenal. I can work with that. All right. Somebody over here, what is an indulgence that you can't live without that costs less than $20? Gentlemen, one of you, please. Yourself? That's not an indulgence, that's a necessity. But no, I'm going to come back to you. An indulgence, something, a treat, something that you like to treat yourself with. That if it ceases to exist, you'd be upset. Chocolate, okay? What type of chocolate? Dark chocolate, white chocolate, milk chocolate. Milk chocolate. From any region of the world? Any? Okay. Last question. Milk chocolate. What brand? Lin chocolate? Lin chocolate? Perfect. Okay, I need one more person. Right there? Right there, right there, right there? Yeah? Say that again?
Cheap shopping.
Cheap shopping. Oh, okay. This one's... I'm not going to say that's an indulgence. That's economical. What's an indulgence? Something, a treat, something that you like.
Shopping makes me happy, and I go for cheap shopping. That's
Okay, okay. I'm still going to dig it out of you. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, what do you like to buy when you're doing cheap shopping?
So creative tools.
Creative tools.
Can you like how you follow on Instagram and TikTok, you know?
Okay.
Cheap buys at Dollarama. Like,
Okay, so I'm gonna keep something from Dollarama. So tell me a specific product from Dollarama.
let's say for example, egg slicer when they came in, like
Egg slicer. Perfect. Okay, I got my 3 examples. Thank you all. So, good news is that you're all hired because you all answered my interview questions quite well, and I really enjoyed them. Welcome to Brasa Peruvian Kitchen. You're going to be welcome to our restaurant. Our HR manager, Laura, is going to make sure that your uniforms are all there, your name tags are all there. Before you show up, we're going to send you a little link to ask you the typical stuff like, how do we pay you? So upload your direct deposit form. Who's your emergency contact? Do you have any allergies? Things like this, right? That is kind of the technical part of onboarding. Then these 3 individuals, they show up and they have a gift waiting for them at the restaurant. And it's the first interaction that you have as a team member. And in this gift, Mike, because what you ordered is perishable, I can't show up with tea. So what we're gonna do is get you a $20 gift certificate to Tim Hortons with a handwritten card that language matters, okay? So, hi Mike, welcome to Peru. Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for choosing us, not the other way around, because Mike is a highly coveted team member where everybody was trying to recruit him because he's so great. Thank you for choosing us. We can't wait to see you develop. Some nice language there. And in there is your $20 gift certificate, Tim Hortons. Everybody can afford $20. Remember, I'm the cheapest guy in this room, so I'm always looking for the most cost-effective way of doing things and bringing value. Lind milk chocolate, and probably the most unique answer or gift we're gonna give, an egg slicer or a gift certificate to Dollarama with the same cards. Now, there's more than meets the eye. I'm not just doing this for like, oh, nice gifting. Did you notice how I dug answers out of all of you? What if I had bought this gentleman dark chocolate? He said chocolate, dark chocolate will do. What if he didn't like dark chocolate? Don't we ask our employees to personalize the customer experience? That's an example of personalizing it. So then during his first day, I get to say, we personalized this gift for you. Now go do it for us. We're seeding the messaging. We're doing what we want for our customers, but with you first. I've also done something. I've created an experience for you 3 that you've never seen before from an employer. Now I have earned the permission to ask you to create an experience for our guests that they have never seen before. Do you see how one has to happen before the other? Then what do you think the outcome is? These individuals are going to show up on that day with an experience they've never seen before. Their employee engagement is going to go like sky high. If their employee engagement is high, their knowledge retention will be high as well. They're about to go into training, are they not? It's their first day. You want engagement to be high on day 1 and throughout the first week because you want knowledge retention to be high so that they get to speed a lot faster than by not having system and process to be able to create that experience that will drive profits. What about this? Building a business that generally just puts a smile on your face because you're putting smiles on other people's faces. I'm not for the warm and fuzzies and all the fluffiness, but it's true. Don't you want a business that your employees want to come and work for? Something that you're proud of and it drives profits? Of course we do. One thing that I learned at 1-800-GOT-JUNK, my first job at 1-800-GOT-JUNK, it was tough. I worked in the call center. I was 22 years old. I started in the summer of 2007, answering 100 phone calls a day in the call center. My shift started at 4 a.m., which means I had to wake up at 3:15. 21-year-old waking up at 3:15 in the summer? It's not exactly what my friends were doing, right? It's not exactly what I had painted a picture of the ideal career for myself, but I knew the expression, I had to cut my teeth. I had to learn before I earned. That's why I was joining this company. And within that company, they taught me something that I still use today in my business over a decade ago. And it's called the customer personality types. We cannot deliver the same customer experience to every single customer the exact same way. Because what might attract Mike might repel me, because my definition of success is different. This individual is known as the Socializer personality type. If you've ever seen her show, very talkative, very uplifting, has a sunny disposition to herself. Think of the customer that you have when you have 20 people in your queue waiting to order. The customer that won't stop talking. We got to build rapport with them, but we also have 20 people to serve. How do we get them to, without saying, hey, can you shut up and order? How do we maneuver outside of that conversation to make sure that she's hospitable? We need to train our team members how to be able to manage the relationship with the Socializer personality type. I refuse to go shopping with my mother. I love her. She's the salt of the earth. She's an angel, but she just talks too much. Just pay. I want to get out of here. But here's the thing. We don't get to pick and choose who our customers are. We just want them to be able to swipe a credit card or give us cash. But we have to be hospitable to everybody and deliver an experience to them according to how they want it. But we need to make sure that our frontline team members are able to deliver that. We need to provide that education. What about the director-style personality type? This individual, don't talk to them about anything. They don't care about the calorie flames. They don't care about the weather. They just want their food very fast. I like these customers. Raise your hand if you're this customer when you go to the bank. Right. Just get me the hell out of here. Right? Please. And I'm not a bad guy. I'm not mean. My definition of success is not predicated on having long conversations with the person at the bank. I want to go spend time with my dog. I want to go for walks. I want to be with my fiance. I want to be able to save as much time in businesses that I do business with to be able to do those things. So I want the conversation to be very short when I'm the customer. We need to teach our team members that it's okay. It's okay to not have long-winded conversations. These individuals want to get out. What about the passive? The passive, a bit guarded, timid. They're a little soft-spoken a little bit. They may be guarded because they don't have trust in your brand just yet. Maybe it's the first time that they've dined or ordered from you. I find that these customers can actually be some of the most loyal, because if your team members can bring their guard down, they're often misunderstood. So they appreciate a company that understands them. This is some of the education that served me very well in the fast casual restaurant industry. And I can tell you firsthand, if you call 1-800-GOT-JUNK right now or tomorrow or next week, the agent that answers the call is trying to identify who you are in the first 5 seconds of saying hello to you, because they now know who they have to become. If Mike is the director and I say, thank you for calling 1-800-GOT-JUNK, or welcome to Brass Approving Kitchen, and Mike's like, hot brass or chicken bowl, please. I know I got a director on my hands. On we go. Let's go. He wants to get out of here. But we, as benevolent and servant leaders, have to make sure that we equip our frontline employees with premium education. Don't we do that for our children? Kumon, coaches, because we want our children to succeed. And remember I said that barrier that we've erected between how we interact in our personal lives and how we do in our professional lives? We've got to bring that barrier down. We do these things for people that are close to us in our professional lives because we want them to succeed. We need to take that same way of doing things with our frontline employees. I haven't been in my restaurant for 1 week, but the show still goes on. My team members like Miko and Zufisha and many others, we have about 50 employees. Who's more important to the business, me or them? I'm on stage talking to you right now. We've probably served our customers already. Our customers don't know who I am. They don't care who the founder and CEO of a Brass Improving Kitchen is. They care about the people who serve them each and every day, which is why an investment in education and learning and development is an ROI positive investment each and every time. During the pandemic, I had a lot of time. I hadn't launched the brand. Remember, I conceptualized Brass Improving Kitchen in 2019, but then as I was getting ready to open in February 2020, the world said, no, you're not. You're gonna sit down for a couple years and just wait. We opened our first location July 28th, 2022. And since then, we've been able to open a handful of stores. While I was waiting to open these stores, I spoke to 163 individuals across North America, primarily in Canada, and I asked them many questions around their habits and expectations around fast casual restaurants. This is what I heard. Everybody wants quality in their products and food. You can't have great customer service and poor products. Just not gonna happen. There's too much food in the market. We need quality because that will instill value. Gets to justify what we charge. Consistency for them creates peace of mind. I need to know that when I order from you, it's gonna be consistent. That peace of mind will drive loyalty, which ultimately drives product. Say what you will about their products, but Starbucks is quite good at doing that. I know that if I just have a few minutes, I can go in and out, order on the app and go, which is why the adoption of your app is so important. I caught the tail end of the metrics that the individual was sharing. It's a valuable customer. And we need our frontline employees to be able to be pushing these initiatives so that we can benefit. But how can we do that? How can we ask our team members to promote an app when they don't feel the hospitality coming from us first? Imagine asking a stranger off the street to do you a favor. Sometimes that doesn't happen because you haven't built trust with this person. We need to build trust and love and care with our team members first before we can ask them to do things. And lastly, cleanliness of our restaurants reinforces the value and the peace of mind. The value being, it's nice here. It's like a 5-star hotel. That's one way we can behave like the most hospitable brands in the world, like Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton, by having clean restaurants. It's something I am paranoid about, as I told you earlier. Clean restaurants, great customer experience, more profit for us if they keep coming back. That gives our customers peace of mind. People don't fail, processes do. People don't fail, processes do. If you have a team member who's not getting it, somebody that's not showing up on time, maybe a couple processes is breaking down in your restaurant right now. Why did you hire that person in the first place? How did they get past you in the interview? Let's tighten up the interview. Did we even follow the process? Or maybe they should be hired, but we haven't trained them on the customer personality types and things like this so that they can succeed in the workplace and deliver experience to our customers that they've never seen before, which will drive our profits. I want to introduce you to Natalie. Natalie joined my company in January 2022. She's Armenian, she grew up in Syria. She joined me as a part-time team member. Today, she oversees 4 of our locations as a regional manager. She went from part-time team member to regional manager in a year and a half. It's phenomenal growth. She's making great income, and I have somebody that I genuinely know cares about the stores. I have somebody that oversees our restaurants while I'm with you today. The reason this works is because we've been able to build a people-first culture. I've been able to be a servant leader to people like Natalie, and they follow us. It's our responsibility to pave the path for our highest performing team members, support them with process, and build a people-first culture, and watch how consistently your profits come. Thank you very much. So I will take any questions from the audience. Okay, so how competitive is the marketplace when you're paying your employees, but the employers aren't showing up and doing as I expect them to, well, I'm pretty strict with it. As I mentioned, we do have a lot of applicants per month. If you hire somebody as a benevolent servant leader, it's your responsibility to help turn them around, because ultimately you're the one that made that hiring decision, or somebody in your business did. I will give them 1 opportunity, 2 opportunities, and then they're out. And I'll move really quickly to terminate. Now, I'm not an HR lawyer, consult with HR lawyers with that. There's rules that we have to abide by. But if you're building a culture of hospitality and doing your part, your team members should show up. And I find it to be quite disrespectful if our employees don't. I'm doing my part. You're not meeting me halfway, so I no longer should employ you. Just fair is fair, but you have to be doing your part as a benevolent leader. Thank you. Yes?
There's only a certain wage that we can pay, right?
Yep.
So how much do you pay your employees?
Good question. So we start at 19 per hour. Many of them earn 20. And we have a tiered structure. So I'll describe it to you really quickly. $19 per hour. You need to know the front of house and the back of house. $1, and then it's tiered. $20, you need to add at least another skill set, which is valuable to us, such as doing our daily counts. We've identified this income path, is what we call it, is you will be bumped up by $1, but you need to be bringing tremendous value. You can end up at $23 as a senior team lead, but you need to know ordering and you need to know how to do costing. We'll teach you these things. So our employee retention is low, as I mentioned. So we don't have a lot of turnover, which allows us to be able to pay our people more because we don't spend a lot in training. So an investment in training your people is ROI positive. Any other questions?
Right here, Andrew.
Yep.
What would your advice be if, like you said, you have lots of applicants coming in, if you don't have that many and like you have ads out, you have now hiring up, but people walking in with a resume, like right off the bat, you can tell they're not even qualified.
They're not qualified?
Well, not
Sure,
not
fair.
a good fit.
Yeah, so here are my, what I've learned. Remember, I came from full service restaurants. Our employees there were making hundreds of dollars a night. I had to take a different approach to recruiting teams in this industry because I didn't have that income to fall on for our team members to attract them. So we actually only recruit through 2 methods, Indeed and internal referrals. Indeed, you have to spend money through ads. It's pay to play. If you're not spending in Ontario, I'm not sure if this is a national thing, but the minimum spend is $8 per day. That can add up quite quickly, I understand that, and it's something that you have to budget for. But Indeed will suppress your ad if you don't spend money, just like Facebook does with anything that you post there. So that's Indeed. Constantly keep it on. Like I said, don't turn the recruiting engine off. Requires more effort to turn it back on, and it will cost you more. So Indeed is the main channel, and then we support it with internal referrals. I guarantee you that you have exceptional team members right now who also have family members or friends who they spend time with who could also be working with you. But you have to constantly remind them of the incentive program that you may have. So what we do is if a team member successfully recruits one of their family members or friends, we have a $500 incentive. However, it's $100 when they first get started, $150 after month 1, the remaining $250 if they pass probation at the 3-month period. So it lags to be able to make sure that these individuals are actually going to stick. Every single person that has come internally, and I promise you this is not an extension of the truth or an embellishment, every single person that has come internally has been a high performer. largely because our current high performers don't want to bring anybody that's going to make them look bad. So they will always second guess, who do they bring to the table? And of course, the incentive helps as well. That's how you fill the top of funnel. Like I told you earlier, I don't love spending money for things, but with Indeed being how big it is now, it's pay to play and budget for it. But it is ROI positive, I promise you, if you get high performers. Yes?
Thank you. It was a really great presentation.
Thank you. You welcomed me. You fed me.
I didn't even know I was going to be a part of it. So, my question would be, because you worked at full-service restaurants and QSRs now, what was the bigger differences that you saw with full-service and quick service?
Yeah.
And two-parter really, but what is one thing in QSR that you think somebody, like a franchisee, should focus on or work on every day, you'd say?
Okay, so that's Navdeep. He's the individual that welcomed me. So everybody, thank you to Navdeep. Thank you. You know, that's worth a round of applause because he helped me prepare for this. Okay, so I think you had 3 questions there, but I'm going to go with the first one, the difference between QSR and full service. The money, right? I had to find more creative ways to attract people and come to work for us. Second, time that you have with the guest. Fast casual is much more difficult than full service restaurants. I will say that very confidently, right? How we've been able to get over that difficulty is because of the education that we've provided our frontline team members, like the customer personality types, right? That's one thing. Also, expanding their minds about organic growth. I shared that with you earlier. Teach them what organic growth means. Revenue that's earned through repeat customers and word-of-mouth marketing. Teach them about what great customer service actually looks like. Share examples from other industries. So those are the 2 biggest differences and how I've been able to overcome them. I would be lying to you if I, at times, when I've been building my brand, been like, my goodness, this is hard. I shared with Mike, I said, sometimes it feels like somebody's taken combat boots and have started kicking me in the face. Right? It's hard, but our industry is very rewarding, can be very sticky, and can be very financially beneficial as well. The second part to your question, Navdeep, was around, remind me again, pardon me? Focus on becoming a great interviewer. Being a great interviewer requires you to be a good judge of character. That comes with practice. Right? Sometimes, have you ever interviewed somebody and be like, I think this person's lying to me? It happens. Be prepared for the interview. If you do them, great. If you're relying on somebody else to do them, make sure that they are equipped with the right education to know how to interview effectively. Because these are the people that you are welcoming into your business. You wouldn't just welcome some random person into your home. You wouldn't invite some random person to your wedding. Right? I see the interview process as the first step before a big event, and that's them joining your business. You're trusting these individuals to help secure your livelihood. We need a system and process in place to be able to become expert interviewers so that we know that the right people are representing our brand for the next 25 years. Opa, thank you very much. I really appreciate your attention.